For over 60 years, one question has haunted America's most notorious prison. Did they make it? 3 men vanished from Alcatraz, the world's most secure prison, leaving behind a few clever clues and a legend that has captivated generations. Did they conquer the deadly waters of the San Francisco Bay? Or did the Bay claim them in their grab for freedom? The official story has always been that they drowned. But what if the official story is wrong? In 2025, new science has started to poke serious holes in the legend we all thought we knew. A wave of new findings is turning this cold case hot again, and the evidence is more shocking than anyone ever imagined. Alcatraz. Just the name brings up images of cold, lonely despair. Sitting on a rugged island in San Francisco Bay, it was where America sent the criminals no other prison could handle. From 1934 to 1963, Alcatraz was the ultimate symbol of "you're not getting out." The prison's defenses weren't just steel and concrete, but the island itself. It was surrounded by freezing, churning water, with currents so fierce they could pull a person out to the Pacific in minutes. The policy was chillingly simple. If an inmate made a swim for it, guards were told to just let the water do the work. The cold and the current would be their executioner. In its 29 years, the prison bragged that no one ever successfully escaped. 36 men tried. Most were caught, some were shot, and the Bay supposedly swallowed the rest. Escape was considered a death sentence, and that ironclad reputation is exactly what makes the night of June 11, 1962, so incredible. It was the night 3 men did the impossible. They disappeared from their cells, were never seen again, and kicked off a mystery that would last for more than 60 years. The guys who pulled this off weren't your average criminals. They were smart, patient, and incredibly driven. Frank Morris was considered the genius of the group, a career criminal with a reported IQ in the top 2% of the population. He was the quiet, calculating brain behind it all. His partners in crime were brothers John and Clarence Anglin, bank robbers from a big family of Florida farm workers. They were known for being inseparable and had a history of escaping other prisons. While Morris brought the intellect, the Anglin brothers had the hands-on skills and sheer nerve to make a plan this wild actually work. A 4th man, Alan West, was also in on it, chipping away from his own cell. Trapped in the main cell house, these 4 men would look out at the twinkling lights of San Francisco and didn't see a prison wall. They saw a finish line. They simply refused to believe Alcatraz was inescapable and started cooking up one of the most ingenious prison breaks in history. For more than 6 months, the men worked in total secret. Their plan was a brilliant mix of simple tools and unbelievable patience. The first hurdle was the cell walls. Under each sink was a ventilation duct, and years of salty air had rusted and weakened the concrete around it. Using sharpened spoons from the cafeteria and a makeshift drill they built from a junked vacuum cleaner motor, the men chipped away at the concrete, night after night. To cover the noise, Frank Morris would play his accordion during the prison's music hour. To hide their work and trick the guards doing head counts, they created the most famous props of the whole story: dummy heads. Using a bizarre mixture of plaster, soap, toilet paper, and real hair they snagged from the prison barbershop, they sculpted eerily realistic faces. Tucked into their beds each night, these decoys made it look like they were fast asleep, buying them the time they needed to work and, eventually, to escape. Their final problem was the bay. They knew they couldn't just swim for it. So, they built a boat. Over months, they stole more than 50 raincoats, smuggling them back to their cells, one by one. They painstakingly stitched and glued them together to create an inflatable raft and life vests. They even carved wooden paddles and repurposed a concertina, an accordion-like instrument, to use as a bellows for inflating the raft. On the night of June 11, 1962, it was go time. After the last bed check, the men propped the dummy heads on their pillows, pulled up the blankets, and squeezed through the vents one last time. They climbed through a maze of pipes in an unguarded utility corridor that ran behind the cells. But even the best plans hit a snag. Alan West, who had helped with all the prep, couldn't get his vent cover off. The concrete had hardened, and he was stuck. His partners had to make a tough choice. They left him behind. Morris and the Anglin brothers pushed on. They shimmied 30 feet up the plumbing to the roof of the cell block, crept across it, and slid 50 feet down a kitchen vent pipe to the ground. They made their way to the island's northeast shore. Sometime between 11 p.m. and midnight, they inflated their raincoat raft and slipped into the black, churning waters of San Francisco Bay, disappearing into the night. The next morning, the guards discovered the ruse. The alarm screamed, and one of the biggest manhunts in American history kicked off. But it was too late. Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers were gone. For decades, the official story, pushed by the FBI, was that their raft failed and they died in the bay, their bodies swept out to sea. For 63 years, the escape was the stuff of legends, a perfect crime with a permanent question mark. But in 2025, the story took a wild turn. A new team of scientists, armed with technology the original investigators couldn't have dreamed of, revisited the case. Their first big find came from an unexpected place: old military maps and ground-penetrating radar. Scans of the island revealed a forgotten tunnel system under Alcatraz that wasn't on the prison blueprints. It was a relic from the island's 19th century military days. Even more startling, sediment samples from inside the tunnel suggested there was significant movement down there, right around the time of the 1962 escape. This was huge. The escapees were always thought to have launched from the northeast shore, a dangerous spot. This forgotten tunnel offered a sheltered path to a different shoreline, one with calmer waters closer to the Golden Gate Bridge. It didn't prove they survived, but it opened up a mind-blowing possibility. What if they had a much smarter escape route than anyone ever knew? The biggest argument against their survival has always been the bay itself. The 2025 analysis went right at this problem. Building on earlier research, the new team ran thousands of powerful computer simulations. They plugged in the exact tides, wind, and water temperatures from the night of June 11, 1962. The results were stunning. The models showed that if the men launched an hour too early or an hour too late, they were doomed. Swept out into the Pacific, just like the FBI always said. But the simulations revealed a golden window. If Morris and the Anglins pushed off between 11 p.m. and midnight, the exact time they escaped, the tide wouldn't have been their enemy. It would have been their engine, pushing them north toward Angel Island and the Marin Headlands. Suddenly, survival didn't seem so impossible. The data suggested it was at least plausible. Even more, the drift patterns in the simulations matched where the only bits of evidence, a paddle and pieces of raincoat, were found in the days after the escape. The science seemed to show the men didn't just get lucky. They timed their escape almost perfectly. So, has all this new information officially changed the story? Well, it's complicated. The U.S. Marshals Service still officially keeps the case open, so it's far from solved. However, the new findings have definitely caused a stir. The long-held assumption that the men simply drowned is now being seriously questioned. There are also reports about modern forensic techniques, like advanced DNA analysis and AI-powered facial recognition, being used on evidence like old photographs and a mysterious letter that family members claim to have received. While none of these results have been publicly confirmed, they add more weight to the idea that there's more to this story. The consensus hasn't fully shifted, but the debate is no longer just if they could have made it. The question is now a much more serious discussion about how they might have actually pulled it off. The story of the Alcatraz escape has always been about more than just a prison break. It's a story about the raw human desire for freedom. For decades, it was a legend, fueled by rumor and mystery. The men were like ghosts, their fate a permanent question mark. the scientific findings of 2025 haven't given us a final answer. There's no deathbed confession, and the U.S. Marshals still have active warrants for their arrest. But the new analysis has done something almost as powerful. It's given the legend some serious legs. The evidence of a hidden tunnel and the tidal simulations suggest their plan wasn't just a desperate Hail Mary. It was a calculated and surprisingly plausible strategy. The Anglin brothers' family has always insisted the men survived, pointing to unsigned cards and flowers as proof. For years, most people dismissed these claims. Now, scientific models show a clear path for how survival could have been the outcome. The great mystery of Alcatraz isn't resolved, not with a body, but data has made the story more tangible than ever. It proves that sometimes the most unbelievable stories are the ones that have a real shot at being true.